members on the panel, esteemed members in the audience, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm the last in the panel, and the obvious advantage is that one of the longest time to listen. And I listened the whole of yesterday and part of today, and it's been a deeply, deeply enlightening and insightful engagement to be here in the first ever World Education Summit. I come from a very small system compared to yours, which have been, whether it is in India or in Jordan, very large and well-established establishments, systems. I'm basically here to learn. I came here in the midst of many other engagements because I thought this was the biggest idea of our times, the World Education Summit, because we believe that if we set education right, we will be able to set our nations right. The converse is not true. Education failing, no nation can succeed. That is the bottom line. At this point in our country, we are right at the infancy of development, particularly when it comes to modern education. We are sorting out the basics, and we derive inspiration from individuals like His Majesty, our beloved King. Sitting there yesterday, I had two thoughts. One was of unease. Unease because I saw how far ahead he had already gone. And another thought was one of a bit of concern. Concern because in some ways, in some directions, we have been going a bit too fast. But the bottom line is that education is the bottom line. His Majesty our King says that we can dream of a strong democracy of the highest standards, but we must not forget that those standards must be set in school where our future bureaucrats are. We can dream of world-class IT parks, of being an international financial center, of competing at international standards, but we must not forget that we can have none of these if our schools and colleges do not bestow such talents and skills. We can dream of a nation of environmental conservation, gross national happiness, a strong economy, a vibrant democracy, and yet none are possible or sustainable if we have not already toiled and sweated in the building of a strong education system. This is the reason why all of us are here, I guess. This is the reason also why some great minds thought of hosting an event as important as the World Education Summit. We are figuring out as to what role education must play, what core function it must fulfill, what dreams of people and of societies education must realize. We are at this level, whereas I see that all of you have gone very far ahead. So many changes have taken place already within the context of education, school education, college education, university education, including vocational education. And we saw also what gaps lie there, what deficiencies stare us in the face. What we believe that during occasions such as this, it is also very important to look at the gaps, to go back to the basics. So that's why I hope and pray also that we will have occasion in the course of our activities to reflect on what could actually be the goal of education. Because once the fundamentals are sorted out, I'm sure all things fall into place. I feel that even when it comes to higher education, there is gain to be had from looking at some of the great minds. And I know that whatever I'm going to say here could disconcert some of my esteemed colleagues and members in the audience. But I cannot help but go back to the idea, for example, of a university. When we think of higher education, Cardinal Newman had desired that colleges, universities would be dedicated to raising the intellectual tone of the society, raising the intellectual tone of the society. Do our universities engage themselves in raising the intellectual tone of the society? He had desired that universities be engaged in the purification of national taste. What is our national taste? And how do universities engage themselves in the purification of national taste? He had desired also that universities dedicate themselves to supplying true principles of popular enthusiasm and sobriety to the ideas of the age. Provide principles, true principles at that, of popular enthusiasm and sobriety to the ideas of the age. I think he had desired universities to play a tremendous role. He had desired also that universities help in facilitating the exercise of political power. Universities being the centers in which the most educated people in the society converge. It would be in the fitness of things that they be engaged in facilitating the exercise of political power. He had desired finally perhaps that universities be engaged in refining the quality of personal, private life. Imagine our societies, imagine our nations with universities engaged in such a task. I'm sure our societies, our nations will be those that will match our dreams. I was looking at the dream of this child, the dream of this child who said that her wish is to live in a developed India. Amazing. And I feel that this is a dream, this is a hymn to prayer, hymn to hope, sung by children, not only in India but across the world, from coast to coast, from tropic to tropic, from hemisphere to hemisphere, on all parallels, on all meridians of our earth, hoping, wishing that they be able to live in a developed nation, developed not only technologically, developed not only economically, but developed also morally, developed in the language as expressed by Tagore, where the mind is without fear, where the head is held high, where knowledge is free, and where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way in the dreary desert sand of dead habits. This is the dream all children around the world have. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I feel there is no dearth of technology, there is no dearth of science, there is no dearth of knowledge. I think we have Faustian science, we have Faustian technology, we have Faustian knowledge. What perhaps we do not have is Faustian music. Somewhere down the line, we lost that music. And education systems around the World Education Summit will do well to try and discover that music. Thank you very much indeed.